up our questions, and we're going to start with candidate Adam Polak. All right, ready? The greatest obstacle to justice is delay. Should the state courts adopt similar as federal courts to strictly limit the time for discovery and force the parties to trial rather than allowing the parties to choose their timeline? And what do you see as the advantages or the drawbacks of this proposal?
Thank you very much. Justice delayed is justice denied. To force people to accelerate their trial by the parties, first of all, the parties don't decide. It's the judge who controls their courtroom. The judge controls the flow of the docket. The judge is the one asked for a continuance, an extension of time. The judge has the decision whether to grant that request or not. The judge has a difficult job, though. A judge has to balance the due process rights that are fundamentally guaranteed to all citizens of the United States through the Constitution. That with the right and the need to have justice delivered in an efficient manner. Each case is unique, and each case presents unique challenges. A judge is required to follow the law. Obviously, if a law is passed that says a case must be tried within a certain time period, the judge has to consider that and take that into consideration. It would not be appropriate, though, for the legislature to tell judges how to control their docket. It would be appropriate for the voters to assess judges based on their efficiencies or inefficiencies. Again, it's the judge that controls the flow of the cases in their docket. And that's why I have the experience to handle this. I've run my own business for over 20 years, or over 18 years. I know how to be efficient. I know what it's like to be in front of a judge who isn't efficient. I know that based on my experience that I'll be able to run and manage my docket in a very efficient but fair manner. Thank you.
Judge Soto, thank you.
I have run efficient dockets. I've had to manage dockets, 3 dockets at a time, and I've run them efficiently. But there are also mechanisms out there, such as requesting a speedy trial or demanding a speedy trial in the criminal court system, for instance, where you can get your case up at the front of the docket if that's what you need, so that there's not a delay if you're ready. But if you're not ready, then again, you do have to the judge has to balance whether the people are ready and what they need to have done prior to their trial, and they have to have the opportunity to be fully prepared for their trial so that they can have justice.
All right, now we'll go to the county judges. I do want to let you know that we received several calls.
Sorry.
And they talked about stand your ground law, but none of these candidates can discuss stand your ground law. So unfortunately, we cannot submit those cards. Just to let you know, we're not ignoring you, but we're not allowed to ask those questions. So that's our second question for Judge Krause. You are in favor of term limits for judges. What term limits would you recommend? Would term limits give disincentive to the best attorneys from becoming judges who would have to give up their practice?
Sorry, I'm stuck on the table here. All right. All attorneys who actually become a judge have to give up their practice anyway. And for term limits, it doesn't have to be 1 term or 2 terms. I mean, we could make it 4 or 5 terms. I think that we just need to ensure that at some point we get a turnover, or we get a fresh view. I think that should apply federally. I don't know, everyone knows county courts have a 6-year term. Federal judges have a life term. So I think that term limits should also apply to federal judges. And let's see, what was the other part of the question?
The other part of the question was, I'll read it again just to make sure. You're in favor of term limits. What are the term limits would you recommend? Would term limits give a disincentive to the best attorneys from becoming judges who would have to give up their practice?
Okay, disincentive to the best attorneys. All right. So again, I'd say like 4 or 5 terms. I think that when an attorney decides that it's right to run or it's their time to run, they know approximately how long they're going to have as a judge. So if you're an older attorney, you know that you're going to have to retire at 70 anyway, so you know how many years you might have. So I don't think it would discourage any attorneys from running. I think that it would just set it in the mind of the candidate to know that they only have so much time on the bench so that they can do the best job they can do during that time.
Thank you. This is for candidate Cameron Shackelford. You indicated in your answer that we should make legal system more user-friendly and more understandable. What would you do outside of the courtroom to accomplish this, and should it be made mandatory of all judges?
Sure. One thing that Judge Krause mentioned earlier is that a lot of our citizens don't really understand our system of justice, and that's a significant problem. As many of you know, we took civics out of the junior high school curriculum many years ago, and a lot of students grow up now having no idea of the fact that there's an executive and a legislative and a judicial branch, and even less idea what the judicial branch stands for, what it does, other than sit in the courtroom and decide cases. So what I think we need to do is we need to improve things inside the courtroom. I think the judges should take more of a role in explaining to, especially in the case of indigent defendants, what's going on and what's at risk, and help them explain the case to the person in the docket and to the people in the courtroom to help them understand what our judicial processes are. I also am convinced that traction is best where rubber meets the road. So I would like to see our outreach extend to welfare offices, Medicare offices, police stations. I think there's value in having a healthcare worker who deals with women who have been exposed to domestic abuse, what their legal rights are or what they might be able to do. Same thing with police officers. I think police officers deal a lot with people who are disadvantaged, and they should be able to help them find legal resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, candidate Wayne Culver, this is your question. You said the most important Supreme Court decision is Carpenter. Should the government have to obtain a warrant simply to get cell phone location information after an event such as the Pulse?
Thank you very much. The case is Carpenter v. United States. It just came out June 23rd, and the holding was very narrow. But in the case, what the government did is they went and they got the cell phone tracking location. Your cell phone now can pinpoint very closely where you are at any time, even when the phone is off. And so it was used against this guy who had done 4 burglary or 4 robberies. And this very narrow holding, for the first time the Supreme Court said that you have a Fourth Amendment privilege in things held by a third party, in this case Sprint, which keeps your where you were for 5 years, in case you wanted to know. All of them do. And so the main thing about that case is the holding for the third party, it was very limited. So it was, if it was more than 7 days, they needed a warrant. This guy was followed, they did information for 127 days, and the courts found that that was just way too intrusive. So that the phone would know where you were, if you were in your home, in your car, every single detail of where you were, they found that was too much. The importance of that case, although the ruling is very narrow, dealing just with cell phones now, I believe that 20 years from now, we will be having a conversation about that case because your data is shared. Everyone has an iCloud account, things like that, with your photographs, where you are, and things of that nature. So it's incredibly important that the government get a warrant for that information. If there's exigent circumstances, a danger to the community, of course they can get it. But the main thing is it just an incredible ruling that somebody else's information that you have has Fourth Amendment privilege.
Thank you. We're going to reverse the order, so if Judge Krause gets a microphone, and then we'll just bring the microphone all the way down. We started our third part of this judicial forum, and it is the index cards. I reviewed the index cards. Some I'm not allowed to ask, as I mentioned, And I thought this was a good question for all the candidates, so I thought that they could answer it, all of you. So what would you suggest to the voters? Let me, what would you suggest to the voters for them to get more knowledge of judicial candidates so they can make a good decision?
That's really hard. We all have websites. Obviously, most of us have created our own website, so the information that we put up is the information that we want you to know. It is hard to get information on us. You could go to the clerk's office and find out information there regarding how many trials we've had, how many cases we've handled, either as a judge or as an attorney. So you could go to the clerk's office. You could also, and I know it's probably detrimental to me, but you could Google search us. I know when you Google search me, a lot of things comes up, but it's something that you may want to know or look into. You can always, the clerk's office, our own websites. I think also one of the important things that you could do, a lot of us have email accounts listed. You can email us questions. You can call us. A lot of times people don't realize that they can call candidates. We know what we can answer, so if you call us and say, what's your political party? We'll say, we're sorry, we can't tell you. If you call us and say, what's your position on abortion? We'll say, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. But if you call us and you say, hey, what do you think? Tell me about you. Tell me more about you because I want to know. We can tell you that. We can tell you more about ourselves and what we think and why you should vote for us. So really reach out to the candidates. Last time I ran, I had my phone number on everything. I think I got about 12 phone calls. So I think people don't take advantage of the opportunities they have in order to actually talk to the candidates themselves and get to know them personally. Thank you. Oh, just go down the road?
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Same question, it's easier.
Same question.
Same question or harder. It's harder at the end.
Learning about a candidate is really on us. We need to get out and interact with you more. It's very difficult to learn about an attorney. One of the main things you should do whenever you're dealing with an attorney is go to the Florida Bar website, flbar.org, and look us up. You can see how long we've been an attorney, where we went to law school, if we've ever been grieved, if we've been disciplined in the last 10 years. And very often, if you know an attorney, they can log in and look up some of the pleadings against us by the Supreme Court, if that was the case. Also, like she said, call us. We'd love to talk to you. As you can tell, we're all lawyers, we love to talk. And so, especially about ourselves. But it's up to us to get out to you. You guys have busy lives. And it's up to the candidate to expose themselves to you so you get to learn more about us. And that's why we're here. And so, but look us up on the Florida Bar website. And if you want, if you find any person who's a candidate for judge, if you find out that they represented someone, talk to that person, see how it went. You can also call other judges that they've appeared in front of. They can't really say anything negative about us, but they can say who to go talk to find out more. So you can inquire, but really it's up to us to tell you more about ourselves. Thank you.
Yes, I would echo the comments that you've just heard, and I would also point out there's a resource out there at the Supervisor of Elections website. If you go to the Supervisor of Elections website for Seminole County, which is at, I think it's www.voteseminole.org, it's got all the candidates listed right there. And many candidates have linked the website to their picture, so you can go directly to a candidate's website from there. And you can also look at the financial reports. You can get all kinds of information about how our campaigns are being funded, and you can see how our money is being spent. And there's quite a bit of information there. And of course, you know, the internet is the ultimate repository of information anymore. You can just go on the internet and put someone's name in and find out all kinds of information, including some of the appearances we've had at, for instance, the appellate court. You can go on the appellate court's website and see how we've argued at appeals. So there really is lots of information out there. We've been fortunate to be able to be invited to several what they call hobnobs in the local area, and that's allowed us to meet with a lot of citizens. And quite frankly, I would have expected more people at those hobnobs. But there are opportunities out there to meet candidates, even judicial candidates, and I would encourage each one of you to take advantage of as many as you can so that you make your most informed decision on August 28th.
Well, quite obviously, you can join the League of Women Voters. And there's other organizations out there like the League that have a mission of wanting our citizens to be informed. We need to have informed citizens so that we have responsible people being elected to positions of trust. It's very important for the citizens to avail themselves of the information that is available. And as everyone has said, the internet has given all of us an opportunity that our ancestors 50 years ago, they just didn't have access to the information that is now available. So it's a partnership, really. It's a partnership between the candidate to be reliable to give you that information, but it's also each one of our own responsibility to be good citizens to seek out that information. Because if you seek it out, you will find information. And as some of the other candidates have said, you can always call us. You can always email us. We want to talk to each of you. We want to communicate with you. But a communication is a two-way process. It's not a one-sided conversation. We depend upon you to want to educate yourself, and all of us depend upon you to exercise your fundamental right to vote. Thank you.
I echo what everyone else has said here. I'm not going to repeat it over again, but I can tell you that I am very responsive to emails and phone calls, so you can contact me that way. What you can also do for at least Judge Krause and I is stop by our courtrooms and see how we run court. You can also talk to lawyers and, like I think they said, other judges who can tell you a little bit more about us.
That you keep the microphone because we're going to part 4 of our closing. So I thought we'd just reverse it right back because of the microphone.